Hey guys, this is NordKing88 back for another video, and I want to thank you guys for all the continued support for my channel and for my Twitch channel. You guys are awesome, you rock, thank you so much. Now, moving on to the video, I wanted to originally do a top 50 favorite Pokemon of all time, but once you get about the 20 mark in the ranking system, 20 through 50, it's real inconsistent, and I didn't like how it was playing out because I used one Pokemon one week. Well, he would grow to be one of my more favorite Pokemon than a Pokemon further up in the list. And it's like, okay, where does that justify the older Pokemon spot on the list? And it just got real confusing over time, and the list constantly changed. So I figured the top 1 through 15, those rarely changed at all. I figured those were a solid number to go with. So without further ado, I want to give to you my top favorite 15 Pokemon of all time. But before moving on to that list, I wanted to shout out some of my honorary choices that were supposed to be on the top 50 list, but didn't quite make it onto the top 115. Charizard being the obvious fan favorite. Fire Breathing Dragon, can't get much better. Haunter being one of the original 3 Ghost-type Pokemon. I think it has a cool image to go with it, and I think it just fits the Ghost persona. Arbok is one of my all-time favorite Snake-type Pokemon. I think it fits the whole Cobra persona very well. The poison type, what Team Rocket was able to do with it, just a very cool Pokemon. Nidoking, a awesome poison ground type Pokemon, able to dish out tons of damage with ground type moves and some inflicting damage as well with all the poison type effects. Dragonite, one of the fan favorites as well as one of the original 3 dragon type Pokemon in the game, and you can't get much better than that. Not to mention he's cute for a Pokemon. Celebi, because unlike Ash, Celebi actually had a real death scene in Pokemon. Ash turned to stone, Celebi actually died. There's a huge difference between the two. I believe that's called Petrified. So, to me, that stands out as one of the most touching moments of a Pokemon movie ever. And Jolteon, one of the all-time great electric types, just because it's well-rounded. You have fantastic speed, you have amazing special attack. He learns Pin Missile, which is the bug-type move. He learns Thunder moves. He learns Double Kick. He learns such a wide variety of attacks. It makes him very versatile. Bellsprout, sadly, he wasn't able to make it on my list with a couple of the other ones, but Bellsprout is actually one of the 3 types of Pokemon that I tend to pick up in Gold, Silver, and Crystal right off the bat. I think he's a great Pokemon to start out with in the team. He could be one of your first 2 or 3 Pokemon in the whole game in Gold, Silver, and Crystal. So it's a huge plus for him. Crobat, amazing design. I love the concept of it. The 4 wings, being able to fly at supersonic speeds, just awesome. A great attacker with amazing speed. And Yveltal, because in the new X and Y, Yveltal was amazing. He could crush opponents so easily, and his dark type persona was really cool. The story behind him, just amazing. I love it. And now, moving on to the best part, the list. Here are my top 15. Alright guys, and starting out this list is Darkrai, one of my newer favorites, but fastly became one of my top favorites just for the fact that it's based off of Freddy Krueger. Not officially, but that's what I would consider it. I mean, its bad dream ability makes it able to suck the life out of Pokemon that are asleep, and its Nightmare is able to induce nightmares into Pokemon, drawing more energy out of them. Next up is Seviper. Seviper rapidly became one of fastly became one of my favorites. Sorry about that. In the new Emerald Let's Play that I'm doing on Twitch, it is amazing. It far beat out Arbok with battling that I've had with it, with attacks such as Crunch, Bite, Poison Fang, and Poison Tail, as well as a few others. It was a hardy member of the team. Its design is epic. I love the base of it for it being based off of a Viper. It's a really cool counterpart to Ekans and Arbok, who are more based on the Cobra and so forth. Number 13 is Mareep. Mareep, to me, far beats Ampharos just for the fact that you're able to catch Mareep a lot earlier in the game than you are any other Pokemon in that lineup, say Flaffy and Ampharos, obviously. Well, it can play a huge part. I mean, it evolves at level 15, which is extremely early for Pokemon like that. and then level 30 into Ampharos. But it's Mareep that really starts it off, and you're able to catch it within like your second or third route in the game. It's one of my top 3 besides Bellsprout and Geodude that I actually like grabbing in the earlier games. And moving on to number 12 is Swampert. Swampert is one of my all-time favorites out of all of these starters, just for the fact of how it looks. It's a very solid, beefy-looking Pokemon, yet it has the power to back it up. Being both a water and a ground type, you're able to learn moves like Surf or Dive or Waterfall and Hydro Pump, as well as Fissure, Earthquake, a lot of the ground type moves that can do a lot of heavy damage, as well as the water type moves that can also dish out that same heavy damage. Alright, now moving on to number 11, Lugia. Lugia to me is one of my all-time favorite, if not my most favorite legendary, just for the fact that it was a huge staple in the Gold and Silver series back in the day, as well as Crystal, especially when they brought in the Shadow Lugia and XD Gale of Darkness for the GameCube. That really opened my eyes to just how cool this legendary could actually get. To me, it beats out Yveltal as one of the cooler Pokemon on the list, just for the Shadow Lugia from that game. It was really cool, and I really hope they do something along the lines of bringing it back that way. Next up in number 10 is Groudon. Groudon to me has a special place in my heart for nostalgic reasons, just because when I first got Ruby and Sapphire, when they first came out, I put the game in the cartridge as soon as I got out of the store, or I put the game in my Game Boy as soon as I got out of the store, and I didn't put it down for weeks or months at end. And it really hurt me when I had a whole bunch of my family members over, people that I haven't even talked to in years. I was just really happy to see, and go figure, somebody stole the game. So it was because of that, and because of that instance, that I had to go back and get another one, and started to really grow towards my Ruby version over Sapphire and Emerald. And because Groudon was on the cover, that's the one I grew closer to the most. Not saying that Kyogre and Rayquaza are bad, it's just that Groudon being the ground type and having the fire moves to back it up, and the Solar Beam and Fissure and stuff like that is awesome. Not to mention Primal Groudon, shown here, is one of the coolest designs ever. And moving on to number 9 is Golem. Golem actually falls into the same category as, say, Mareep does, where because of Geodude being so early on in the game in Gold, Silver, and Crystal, especially, and as well as Red, Blue, and Yellow in Mount Moon, it is very easy to get a hold of Golem. If you have a link cable or a trade system of some sort, you can, if you were lucky enough to trade him, you can actually get Golem pretty early. I think Geodude evolved at around 25, somewhere around there, and then as soon as he evolved at level 25, you could trade him and get Golem, and he was a tank. He was a sturdy machine who was able to dish out a ton of damage with rock and ground type moves, as well as take some hits because of its defense, and that really helps out on any team. And coming in at number 8 is Aggron. Aggron to me is amazing. I love him. I love his new Mega in the newer games. But it really goes back to Ruby, Sapphire, and Emerald, and when you were able to actually catch Aggron in, I forgot what cave it was, but it's right after your first badge. You're able to train him, or catch him, and then, yeah, it's a little work to train him, but once you did train him into Lairon and then Aggron, he was a solid beast, being, I want to say he was rock and steel, or steel and rock, and it was just a insane tank of a Pokemon. Very cool design. I love the horns. I love the steel on it. It's just overall awesome. Number 7 is Noctowl. This one's an old favorite of mine. It goes all the way back to Gold and Silver, like a lot of the other Pokemon on the list. But also because if you start the game off at night, you can catch Hoot Hoot, and he can be your second Pokemon on the team. Not to mention the how well-rounded he is as a bird-type Pokemon. Not just being normal and flying, but being able to learn Hypnosis and Psychic and Confusion. Being able to take on Pokemon trainers like Morty, who have Ghost-type Pokemon with a normal type, is huge, and I love that about him. Coming in at number 6, speaking of Psychic-type Pokemon and Psychic-type moves, Alakazam. Alakazam came in to me one of my favorites in Red, Blue, and Yellow, being that Psychic-type Pokemon in first gen were extremely overpowered. They could take on anything in the game and win. In fact, the only thing that was strong enough were Bug-type, and there weren't a good amount of them, and they weren't strong enough to take on Psychic types. If you were lucky enough to trade your Kadabra and get an Alakazam, you boasted one of the strongest Psychic types in the game, not including legendary like Mewtwo or Mew. So it was really beneficial and really helpful on your team. And even if you weren't able to get Alakazam, his pre-evolution Kadabra was just as strong, if not stronger, than most of the other final stage evolution Psychic types like Jinx, even though it's a single, and Hypno. So number 5, moving on to Lapras. Lapras to me is awesome because of its dual type ability, water and ice, being able to take out a lot of the heavy hitters such as ground, rock, and fire, as well as the ice weaknesses, or ice, what are weak against ice, being dragon and flying, two of the more heavy hitters in the game, especially dragons, being able to take out Glance and Claire. Number 4, Torterra. Turtwig, sadly I don't have any footage for this because I don't have a capture card for my DS yet, but Turtwig fastly became one of my all-time favorite starters, you want to put it, besides Mudkip and Charmander. But because Torterra and the folklore behind it, being the tortoise carrying the earth on its back, just it caused them to grow even more on me, and being a dual ground and grass type really packs a punch, especially with moves like Earthquake and Solar Beam being all on one Pokemon. It makes for a great fit. Number 3, Feraligatr. Feraligatr to me is one of the coolest Pokemon ever, just for the fact that he's based on an alligator, or in the family of alligators. I know he's not an alligator per se. I believe there's a type of alligator that he's more based off of, but it's the family that he's based in. And it's awesome being both a water type and being able to dish out the attack damage that he has. Not to mention, I believe it was in Heart Gold and Soul Silver when he could actually learn, I want to say Ice Fang, and being able to dish huge amounts of damage to dragon types, with also having the ability for Surf and Slash for a high critical hit damage, or Crunch for a solid dark type attack. He was very well rounded and one of the best choices for that gen. And coming in at number 2 is one of my favorite water types of all time, Gyarados. The reason I love Gyarados so much is because of his look. He's based on Eastern style dragons, and that's really cool. The only downfall to him is that, as you can see from the video in the background here, he's quadruple weak, or double weak rather, against electricity, being both water and flying rather than water and dragon. He takes a lot of damage from electricity, but on the plus side, he has an amazing attack factor. I would consider him almost broken in the first gen because he was so powerful and he can overpower a lot of things, including the more special stuff such as Alakazam or Dragonite, Charizard, stuff like that. He was extremely powerful, awesome as a shiny, and a plus to any team. And coming in number 1 is my all-time favorite Pokemon of all time, Charmander. This one has a huge nostalgic value for me. Same with Groudon, to where I grew on it so immensely. Anything that had Charmander's image on it, books, magazines, movies, napkins, balloons, you name it, I had it. I remember trading 1 or 2 holographic cards like Mewtwo or Dragonite for all of my friends' Charmanders just so I could have them all. I love this Pokemon to death. He was my starter 9 times out of 10, and being that Pokemon was my go-to game in my childhood, putting those hundreds and thousands of hours into it, Charmander was on my team the entire time, almost. I mean, obviously for that 1%. But he will remain to this day my all-time favorite Pokemon of all time. And there you have it, guys. Those are my top 15 favorite Pokemon of all time. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you liked it, like it, like subscribe to me, whatever makes you happy, to your heart's content. And by all means, leave comments below what list you would like to see me make for future videos, and I will get right on them. I want to thank you guys again for the continued support on all my channels, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, and here on YouTube. Thank you so much. It's much appreciated, and I will see you in the next video. Take care.